Should a man and woman be really good friends even if they are not dating? In other words, is it possible for a man and woman to just be companions without the intention of becoming romantic partners? Age-old question. Can man and woman just be friends?
I mean, I have those arguments. I mean,
The keyword here is really good friends.
Really good.
Really good friends.
Really stress on the word.
They're in the top 5 on MySpace.
you know what? I can tell you from experience. If a guy puts you in a friend zone, it's very hard to get out of that zone.
Hey, that's what we talk about. We say the same thing. We're like, once I go for you.
No, I'm telling you this from the men's psychologist. Okay.
So is a consensus yes? That's right. Yeah. So yes.
Yeah.
Okay, no, it's not just really good friends, really good friends. So y'all hang out all the time.
Yeah.
That's like your best friend.
Like, does she go halvesies on the chicken salsa?
Very big question.
So like having a best friend of the opposite sex. So consider it like just think about who's your best friend right now. It's probably somebody who's of the same sex. So take that relationship and put it in a hypothetical relationship with someone of the same sex. Is that can you do? What's the question? You can do it. Should you do that? Is it wise to do that? If you're not planning on getting into a romantic.
Okay, well, why shouldn't you?
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
I think it gets more complicated as you grow up because when you go separate ways from marriage, and of course we're not dating because we're talking about dating, but I'm talking about in the future, I think it gets complicated when you get married because the spouses of each might be like, how close are you? And that's when you have to start. You have to start kind of distancing. You kind of do have to start putting that ball. Okay, I have my spouse. You have your spouse. So I can see how it can get more challenging as you mature in other relationships. Because I've experienced that where I've had a female best friend, and then once they're in a relationship, it's like ghost. Because the guy is like, who is he? And they kind of just cut things off. So.
Right. I know this one couple that the girl is like, you ain't having no female friends at all. Like they, I don't know this couple.
I feel like
That would be great.
Because that's bad too. Controlling personalities, like people just can't do that, can't do this.
Yeah.
Where you at? Where you at now? We call you like 5, every 5 minutes. That's not good.
That's not helpful.
Well, I think it's important to feel that whoever that best friend is out. Like I have a guy best friend, and when I first met his girlfriend, she didn't like me because she thought that our relationship was more than what it really was. And over time, we got to know each other, and now me and her are best friends. So it's important.
Are they dating or they're married too?
No, well, right now they're not together.
Oh.
But I mean, both of them are still like they're my really good friends, and so it is possible for you to have a male best friend or for the guy a female best friend. But if you can establish a relationship with their spouse, then that's possible. It may take some time. That's possible. If you want all of y'all to be friends and for everybody to feel comfortable, it is important to establish.
So let me ask you this. If the shoe is on the other foot and you're engaged or something like that, and he had a female best friend, would that be comfortable for you?
I would need to get to know her. You have to get to know that person. You need to be open to it because obviously that person has been in your spouse's life for a good amount of time and you're important to them. So you need to be open to it and, see how they interact with each other and see how she interacts with him. And like, if it is a little inappropriate, then you might want to say something.
Okay.
But, just got to be open to it and have that good communication about it too.
I would say that you need to be really careful with that. I think when you're single, it might be kind of cool to have a really good friend of the opposite sex, but when you get married, I think there are going to be some ups and downs in the marriage. And there are going to be some times when it's a downtime. If you're feeding that information to your best friend that's of the opposite sex, this really is going to slip up. Because there's going to be an emotional tie there. And it's really easy to go from friends to be lovers too. So I would say that as you best friends. I mean, this relationship is going to be central. And so you can actually see, even if you're a guy and you have your best buddies, that relationship is going to deteriorate with your best buddy because you're going to be establishing a home with this person. And this person, in most cases, is going to be your best friend. Your spouse is going to be your best friend in most scenarios. And so if there's another woman there, I would say you need to be really, really careful. Even if you guys have been good friends and there wasn't anything, it was platonic in the past, there's always a danger that it can overstep the bounds in the future depending on what's happening in your relationship with your spouse. I would say it's very, very, it's dangerous. I just put it out there.
But you said something that made me a little sad. I mean, you said just even like if you're male and with your best buddies, like those relationships will deteriorate. So like, I mean, can you have friends when you're married? I mean, it sounds like
You can. But I mean, just think about it though. I mean, let's say, you guys get married and Brandon has these buddies that he used to do things with. Every Friday night he used to go play poker and just hang out. I mean, after a while, you're going to say, man, every Friday night, you're hanging out with the guys. I mean, there's going to be a point where he's going to have to invest more time in his marriage relationship than he's going to have in his friend's relationship. I'm not saying that you don't have friends. I'm just saying that it's not going to be the same as when you're single.
right.
It has to be. It has to be, or you're not going to give your relationship a chance to grow. Because if listen, I got married and I'm still, I'm playing basketball with my buddies 2 or 3 nights a week. She's sitting at the house. That didn't work out. That wouldn't work out. All I'm saying is you don't lose them, but the relationship has to change. One relationship has to increase, and the other one has to decrease. You can't support both of them at the same time at the same level.
So outside of dating, so it sounds like the main danger in being, from what I got so far, the main danger in having a friend of the opposite sex is that if you get married in the future, it'll pose a problem. So if we just take that out the equation, and it's just being friends with someone of the opposite sex, should you do that? Is that okay? Is being that close?
I think marriage
No.
No. You think it'll always lead? Because we have an example of, right, Taylor, you said you had a male best friend, but it didn't go into a romantic relationship. Right.
But it's rare, maybe that's one case, but most cases that other person has some sort of feelings for that other person or something like that, and then it grows. Or eventually I'll get to that point. So it's rare, but in most cases, that happens.
I just think
I'm sorry.
Sorry. I might just talk my way through it.
Yeah.
But it is a touchy area to be in, for the reason that's already been said. But I think another danger can be the other way. Well, at least with some other brothers I've been talking with about it, where they almost don't want to even they want to make sure any relationship they have, any friendships they have with sisters in Christ aren't of any significance to the point where they just try to avoid them as much as possible.
Oh, so it's the other extreme.
Yeah, it's the other extreme. And I think Paul's like, what does the Bible say about it? And it's that in 1 Timothy we're supposed to treat younger women as sisters,
Right.
treat younger men as our brothers, treat older men as our fathers,
Yeah.
treat older women as our mothers. So the perspective is that we're supposed to be giving everyone our best, showing everyone the love of Christ. And that applies to friendships as well. And some will be, I think it's only natural that some will be closer than others just because of just having more of a connection with one person than the other. It doesn't have to lead you to dating or marriage or anything, but you have those relationships and they're valuable. God has placed that there for a reason. I think it's good to make best use of that, but I think what's been said about Malcolm was saying, in the marriage perspective, and then the dating perspective, where you're not married, but you have good friends who are the opposite sex. I think it's still okay to honor them in that way, but it is tricky whenever you're not being clear about what your perspective is in this friendship.
Right.
Because then there are situations where one person has feelings and the other doesn't, and all of a sudden one person's leading someone else on, and without realizing and things like that. And I know because I've been in that situation where all of a sudden I started having feelings for that girl, and then all of a sudden, one thing leads to another, and I realized, okay, we need to go back to being friends. So I think it's just a matter of being mature as a believer in and how you're forming relationships, friendships, relationships, what have you, and always having that, and always being honest about that person, and always knowing that if there is more going on, then there needs to be more honesty about what's happening, so that no one stumbles. And it's just a situation. It's just one specific situation, but I think it applies to any situation.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of us talking about, oh, this person just happens to be of the opposite sex, so now there's different. Now the dynamics are different, so you just need to make sure you're being observant about it.
Right.
And
I think it's
so-
really important what you said, just be honest up front with the intentions, hey, brother and sister in Christ, platonic friendship. And I really like what you said about just stressing the fact that we are brothers and sisters, and just having a brother and sister relationship, not going to the extreme and saying, okay, I can't, be friends with the opposite sex at all, because it's not realistic. I mean, recall, like you said, to love our brothers and sisters in Christ, but understanding, placing those natural, appropriate boundaries, and then understanding that when you do date or you get married, that relationship is going to have to take, backseat to your husband or your wife. Okay. So next question. Okay, what is the best way to date for a Christian? So we have a lot of different ways: online dating, Christian mingle, arranged marriages, set up by friends or leadership, etc. Is there a best way?
Nope.
I do think it's kind of different, but Raven, she was my first girlfriend. And my first and only, yeah, first and only. And it's like, I think sometimes you think that you have to, I think you think you have to date a lot of people to find that person. But I think that just starting with, not waiting to fall in love, but starting with unconditional love, brings you to the right attitude that you should have to pursue somebody, And it's not about possessing that person. It's just like, if it doesn't work out with me, I wanted her to be a better woman because she met me. And I think that just having a loving attitude and not loving to get. A lot of times we go into dating, it's like, oh, I give to get. I take her out because I want something. I want attention, I want affirmation. But if you just take her out, just to take her out and say, I just want to bless you, and say, whether this ends well or it's not, I appreciate the fact that I just want to bless you and push you towards God, then I think it just brings you to a point where you can enter that next level of love,
And how long have y'all been dating?
6 years. So a long time. But yeah, and it was weird because it's like, I didn't know what I was a little goofy. I was kind of a dork guy, girl, I didn't know how to do with the ladies. I tried a little bit, tried to be smooth, but listen to some friends I shouldn't have listened to. But I think ultimately, God taught me through just like trying to do the whole cool guy dating thing. Just be yourself and just love. Be obedient to what I tell you to do. Just love, just love and do what I say. Be respectful, and I'll take care of the rest.
Because it's all gonna fall apart anyway.
Yeah.
You're gonna find out who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just stop playing games.
Yeah, it's just like. Has anybody had any experience with online dating?
Well, it's a good way to meet people. Especially nowadays, when people don't really get out that much.
Well, I think because now, I don't know why or how, but it seems now that our generation has an outlook on life that's much different than it was. You know, now it's like so many people are online. It's just, I feel like personally, that's where I'm gonna meet somebody. Because in my everyday life, I'm not exposed to a lot of people that could be potential marriage partners in life or dating partners. And so it's kind of like, you know, everyone tells you that there's somebody out there for you, you know, you'll never know when you're gonna show up. It's like, well, do I need to go to the wrong grocery store? Like, do you go to the movies more often?
Yeah, but for movies,
That's something I struggle with. It's like how aggressive do I be, or should I be, with online dating and with having people set me up and things like that? I mean, should I be aggressive or should I just say, I'm trying to work on myself right now, personally, because I've been online dating a lot, and it's getting to where I need to look at myself before I can be right with somebody else.
yeah.
But yeah, for a girl especially, it's like, you know, I was taught to just, you know, don't be too flirtatious, don't be too powerful, guys don't like that, and so,
Don't be too
They like
powerful.
it.
huh?
Don't be too powerful.
Or intimidating.
Are you a super?
I don't know.
What's your secret take?
Even career choice, you know, I don't know, I've told a lot of things like that. Guys don't want to feel like they're, you know, emasculated, they want to feel like they're in charge of the relationship, so if you
Ooh,
would
let's
say,
ask the guys.
Oh, man.
I think what can you wait for? Yeah, it's a huge subject of online dating. I would say, you know, if you don't know who you are, I mean, you're just gonna attract wrong people, wrong situations, wrong jobs. That's what's gonna happen. You need to know who you are. You need to love yourself first, and you know, when you're happy, the joy spreads. When you're ready to make somebody else happy. Well, again, you can't make somebody else happy. You're just two happy people who like to, you know, spend time together. Yeah, but when you're ready to find somebody, when you feel like you're ready to find somebody, I would use all of this. I mean, whatever works. You just tell everybody that I'm looking. No, seriously.
Wait.
Especially girls have this wrong mindset that is just supposed to happen. Well, you know, especially girls, I mean, you know, we're just such a kick ass at everything else. But when it comes to dating, we think, okay, this is just supposed to happen. Well, let me ask you something. When you go to the store, are you just sitting there and you know, like, oh, where's that dress? Is it gonna come to me?
So you're talking about
No, what do you do?
So the question
You
is,
go and you look.
do you wait
Look
or
Yeah, let's go into, because y'all were touching on something.
People
So let's just go into the
active.
next question. So, what roles do men and women play with dating? So should they be the
Well, man needs to be a man, needs to be a woman, and woman needs to be a
Right.
woman. Yeah, what do you think?
You're right. You're totally right. So should they be the traditional roles seen between husband and wife? So for instance, can the man be the one who is pursued? So can the woman pursue the man?
Oh,
Can
okay.
the woman-
You know, that's okay. You know, if there were any goals, I would like to tell you what to do, but no, I don't want men to do this.
you really good talking to
Yeah. Well, that's what I do for a living.
Okay, so let's just start with that first one. So can the man be the one who is pursued? So traditionally, it's the man who is the pursuer.
Okay, here's the thing.
Hold on. Let me finish real quick.
Oh, I was kind of done, but just the man is traditionally the pursuer of the woman, and we can see that all throughout the scriptures as well. Is that the way that it should still occur in dating? Or is it okay? Should a woman be able to pursue a man? Go up to a man and say, hey, think you? You know, I'm standing out and take you out.
She does it. I'm not saying that you should do it, but anybody who's passionate.
I think what they're doing
that it's gonna be wise, because at some point, she's gonna want to set that thing down, and she's gonna want to be pursued, and he ain't gonna do it, because you did all the work.
Right. You kind of set the standard at the beginning.
So,
Like,
it's okay for a woman to initiate. It's okay. Even in all those old times, you know what happens? Well, can we have some guys to volunteer?
What?
No, let me show you something. Come on, man. It's okay for a woman to make the first move. Okay, so remember those old times? Movies, right? You know, when the women, you know, in those big dresses with the umbrella and all. So here I am standing here. It's a party or whatever, and it's a party. So what happens? Yeah, I see this guy and I like him. So how do I show I like him?
Well, you gotta look at him at the right time and then turn away and go.
Okay, so what do the women do with those whole things? Okay, so usually I'm working. I'm dropping my hand.
She got her.
Oh.
And we start talking. Did I initiate it? Did I choose him?
No.
She dropped his.
No.
Okay.
Did I initiate it? Yes, I did.
I see what you're saying. So that was good. That was good. So a girl can show interest
Yeah.
that she likes the guy.
Guys
But-
fall for the maybe.
But
Okay?
God.
Guys fall for the maybe. Just think about it.
So go ahead, Matt, continue what you were saying.
Yeah.
So you said women can drop hints.
yeah. So you can see that a woman might be hinting at the fact that she likes you and would like for you to pursue her. I think that's okay. Now, if it goes way beyond
And then he
that,
can knock himself out. Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, you show him this. It's okay to show him this. But then he has to knock himself out to, you know.
Like with a hammer?
No.
Okay, Matt.
All right, so if it goes beyond hinting and the girl's being flirtatious with every move, that's too extreme. That is too far, and that is too borderline desperate. It is. It's definitely a situation. That's all good, but the man should be pursuing. And if the girl is not texting you back, not showing much interest, not talking very much, the guy should take the hint as well. Before he gets out there. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we wish that Google Translate had a language for women hinting at what they're trying to say to us. Because to be honest, there's been situations I've faced where I'm like, I don't know. Be clear with me. And at the same, yeah. Well, and there's that fear as well.
You can be rejected, it's just what it is.
It is.
It's a really tough.
So both have to come to terms with clearly communicating what their motives are. That's very difficult and it's situational. Okay, so there.
Okay.
That didn't solve anything.
No, you kind of, okay, if a girl does give hints, what is too much hints and what is too little hints? Or does the guy not see the hints? Or, how do y'all think, like, do y'all
I think the guy has to go, I think the guy has to take the loss and realize that if he pursues this and she says no, at least you found out.
Because I have friends that they're like, oh my gosh, I'm giving him all these hints, but it's like, he doesn't, he says some,
Well, then
she
he might
says
not be
something.
interested.
Yeah. My question is, why does it have to be like a hinting thing? Like, why can't the woman just say,
Just say,
I'm interested?
Well, just have them invited.
that's fine as well. But when it gets to the point where a woman is asking the guy out, that's when you're asking. Yeah. It's confusing.
I'm curious, from a guy's perspective, how would that make you feel? Like if a woman were to initiate in that
Repeat
way?
that one more time.
Like from a guy's perspective, like how would that make you feel for a woman to initiate in that way? Does that make you feel emasculated in any way, or?
I mean, should it take a lot to emasculate?
Huh?
Yeah.
Should it take a lot to emasculate? I mean, if I'm showing the wrong person, that's not, is it really gonna be like any He's not poor, he's strong. I know they're not. I really know what I'm saying.
Right.
I'm just so, I'm looking at men.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, man, I was just talking to
Oh,
man.
that was just,
And man
that
said,
was yes.
no, I'm not talking to man, man can come in anytime, but when you look at the scripture, and what does the scripture show? The scripture shows, what she said was, when you look at Adam and Eve, it was Adam was the initiator. God brought Eve, Adam was the one that took the step. And guys, I mean, what we need to do, obviously, we've got to the point where guys don't want to be rejected. But we still have to take the first step. And you won't know until you take that step. You keep waiting for hints, waiting for hints, waiting for hints. Then you're going to get old and gray. You've got to take the first step. Guys have to take the first step. And I mean, and if you like it, you have to let him know. Because he's making himself vulnerable just by taking the first step. He's making himself vulnerable. Because nobody wants to be rejected. But based on scripture, I mean, don't see too many situations in scripture. I don't know if you see any situation in scripture where a woman is going up to the man and saying, hey, you know, I want you. But if he shows interest, you need to let him know right away, yay or nay. And it's not about playing games or anything like that. No, he's interested. And you move on from there. But I mean, guys need to take the initiative. Guys have to be brave in that area. And it's a scary thing. I know it's a scary thing.
But your choice is not going to your choice. Thank you.
But you have to step out.
I mean, you're
You have to step out.
I've been seeing some people for quite a while now. You know what I mean? You're past dating in high school, at high school. kind of thing. And so, I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're past a few years, you get to the college life, you've seen enough. You've seen a lot. And you can do the next thing. You really can. You're strong. And don't believe what you're not.
And I think Lisa said that's very funny, very good that men have to be men. And that doesn't mean like we never have any insecurities, but I think just in preparing for this, like I was thinking about that question myself. I think like why do men pursue? And it says, husbands love your wives as Christ loved the church. And I think pursuit is a form of protection. It's emotional protection. It's like before, just like Christ pursued us, it's like we don't have the strength to be vulnerable sometimes. Because we, as his bride, are inherently weaker, and sometimes we don't know, we're not able to take the first step. So he takes the first step for us. And it's kind of a form of emotional protection. And I think as men, the reason why we're supposed to initiate, because it's a form of protection. It's saying, okay, I don't want, I know I want to create a safe place, so I'm going to risk my heart first. So at least you know that I want it. You can take it or you can leave. But at least you knowing that I want you just gives you an atmosphere of safety. And I think that safety is kind of built around this idea of provision that Christ provides for his church. And like we feel safe because he knows he wants us first. He died for us. We always say that he died for us. And I think it goes back to what Lisa said. It's like we have to be men, and men are like Christ. And it's not like women never pursue, but it's always usually a response, And I think that's also kind of the way women are wired too. It's like just because of the emotional sensitivities, it's easier to respond than it is to say, okay, I'm going to be the first one to be vulnerable. I think it makes the dynamics a little weird. So just thinking about that question, I think that's kind of the one thing that God brought to me. It's like it's about protection, emotional protection to pursue. And I think that's why we pursue, is to take the initiative and say, I'm gonna make it an emotionally safe place to either say yes or no. That's not being weird or needy, but just saying, I want you, I'm not afraid to say it.
Yeah, there's so many things that if the man doesn't pursue what it implies from the get-go, if he doesn't pursue, it implies that he may not be a protector or somebody that cares for and will stick with them through thick and thin. It shows right off the bat that they do care. They will pursue later on down the road when things get difficult. If they can start then, when things aren't heavy, or if they don't start then, what's it going to mean when things get hard?
Yeah, and that's definitely true. Like that's not the only time you're ever going to be rejected. Especially like being married or being engaged, serious relationship. You're going to have things that are going to happen that are going to hurt, and you have to take initiative in saying, okay, let's deal with this. I'm sorry first. Even if you won't say I'm sorry, let's deal with this first. That pattern of initiative is always going to keep coming up. It's just like, and I'm trying to learn more about that, but I think it's something that we should all learn, because it encompasses more than just the initial beginning.
The next part is similar. Can the woman be the provider? So since we're talking about dating, for example, can she pay for meals sometimes?
I think we can get into a relationship. Like how the guy's supposed to pursue, so if you're asking me to do things, like you need to pay for it, because you asked me to do it.
Right.
With you. But once it gets to the point of a relationship, the woman should be, the guy should have to do everything. Like I feel like, I personally I wouldn't have a problem in a relationship, not in dating, but in a relationship to, hey, I got this, don't worry about it. But I think it's important to show a man that you can be a provider as well. Like y'all are providing for each other, but it's important to show him that you do have your own. You don't necessarily need him to do everything. Like you can be supportive as well, and you can help out as well.
Right. As an example, like when Brandon and I were courting, I think it was like maybe the second date that we went on, we actually went to Potbelly's. And I just remember praying beforehand and asking God, so, okay, what can I do to kind of bless him and, just make him feel special. And, he told me, just pay for his meal, and so, it wasn't super expensive, Red Lobster or whatever, but it was just a sandwich. But I definitely think that it blessed him, and, going into it, it's not like I was trying to just take over or, be this independent, but the attitude was, I want to bless you too, and just understand that I can do the same thing, not necessarily I'm not like the main provider or anything like that, but I don't think it's outside of a boundary to be able to do that.
She can look at it like a kid.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, is actually to know each other's love languages. If you can do one of those tests, it's really helpful. One of the things you'll find is that when you express your love language, it may not always be understood as them really being loved. For example, in my relationship with my fiance, thank you. Her love language is touch and words of affirmation. Mine is quality time and words of service. So if I display quality time, which she enjoys, but she doesn't really feel the same love that I do when I spend quality time with her. If I'm lacking in those departments, like just hugging her, just holding her hand, just little stuff like that, that's when she really feels loved. And you have to know how they feel loved, because then they feel appreciated. And that's later on down the road. That's like, when you're really getting to know each other. Is you're trying to serve them, you're loving them, you're doing what you think that you would like to have received. But really, that might not be their love language. Yeah, so that's something I'm learning and continuing to grow in. Is not loving exactly how I would want to be loved, but how she would want to be loved. And that comes with getting to know the person you're dating.
That's really better.
The last.
I think the questions,
Oh.
they're talking about dating. I think for me, the first couple of days, a couple of dates, a guy should inviting her to the restaurant.
Any other thoughts?
We're talking about the last.
No, it's
Oh, we're not gonna have the last one yet, but we're gonna get to, does
I
anyone
mean,
have?
nowadays women just, make all this money. That's what the point is, it's, there are women who make a lot of money and guys feel insecure about them.
Okay, so the last question is it possible for a woman to be too independent? And so that kind of leads out of the other question. The other question. So, okay.
Yeah, I think
Oh.
we have to.
I think the question is too narrow. I think we probably need to put it in there, is it possible for a woman or a man to be too independent? Because you need to have two to make a couple, and it goes both ways. I mean, you can have women being independent, but you can also have a man, once you're in a relationship where he wants his independence too. He wants to still be able to do what he wants to do. So it goes both ways. So it's not just a woman wanting to be independent that causes problems. It's a man wanting to be independent and in a relationship that causes problems too. So it's both sexes. I just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, deep.
He actually took what I was going to say. No, but yeah, like while you're getting to know someone, like that's fine if they want to be independent. But yeah, I feel like once you're in a relationship, some of that independence needs to go away. You need to start, relying upon each other. It shouldn't just be. I think there definitely should be a leader, but at the same time, like it should be like a partnership in certain ways. You should be helping benefit each other, not necessarily. But yeah, I agree with him that you can't just focus on the woman being too independent. Also, the guys can't be too independent as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I know from my personal experience is that, you're kind of taught as a guy, like, you're supposed to be, you're supposed to be strong, you don't need help, you got it. But that's true. You're supposed to be strong, but I think that there's a balance, you know what I mean? Like, there's a certain point, like, if you try to do everything, it's like nobody can help you. Like, I had to learn how to ask for help, Like, I'm not good at this right now, can you help me? Because I'm not used to that. I'm just like, I just need to do it alone. But I think that you have, in order to grow intimacy with somebody, you have to learn how to be vulnerable and be dependent. Not in a needy way, but just in a way that shows that you can connect with that person and allow them to serve you. That's something I struggle with. And I think probably quite a few men I've talked to struggle with, just feeling like, I can't be weak, I'm gonna do everything, But at the end of the day, it kind of backfires a little bit. So that was a good point, just men being too independent.
Oh, sorry, no, it's okay.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I struggle as well, just with being, I guess, too independent as a woman. I don't know, like, for me, I was taught growing up, my mom always told me to never depend on a man, not to, don't depend, you always have your own, be able to take care of yourself. So for me, it's a little bit hard to, I don't know, I'm still working through it. Like, am I supposed to be completely dependent on Brandon? I'm not comfortable with that. So does that make me too independent?
No, there are like three mindsets that a woman can have. So there's one woman who is like helpless. Can help us. No, who's gonna like that, right? Guys not gonna like that. And there's another woman who saying I can do everything myself.
Yeah.
This is also not good, right? And then there's a third type of woman who knows she can do it. But, like me, I know I can do it, but I feel better when, somebody else does it for me every now and then. Does it make sense?
Yeah, so can you give me an example?
I'd add this too. We all get advice, different advice from people, and people that we love. But if you go back to Genesis, it says the two shall come together and they could shall become one flesh. And the one thing that you want to recognize is that we both need to be marching in the same way. I know you probably need to decide, okay, we're going to have one checkbook, a two checkbook, or all those different things. But the scripture says that the two will become one. And if you're holding back in certain areas, then you're holding back that oneness that you to be, don't ever depend on that man for everything, well, you're holding something back. And there's always that seed of doubt in your mind. Well, I remember I was told, don't depend on him for everything. I mean, why shouldn't you depend on him for everything? If he's the one that you've chosen to spend the rest of your life with, he's going to be the father of your children, and why shouldn't you depend on him fully? And then vice versa, why shouldn't he depend on her fully? I mean, isn't that what it's all about? You're forming a brand new relationship. You're going to be moving forward, and out of that relationship, you're going to have children of your own. Why shouldn't you guys be able to depend on each other fully? Go in there and just know, hey, this is, we're going to make it together. It's going to be bust. I mean, just when the vows come and says, rich or poor, sick or in health, and all those things. I mean, why not just jump full in? If you're going to commit your life, commit it all the way. You can't half-heartedly commit to something and expect it to be a success. So if you commit all the way, then you're at least giving yourself an opportunity for it to succeed. But if you're holding something back from the very beginning, you're saying, just in case I'm hedging my bet, and if it doesn't work out, well, I got a little nest egg over here that can take care of me. But if you jump all in, I mean, Lisa and I, we got married at 21. We didn't have anything pretty solid. So it was not like, she couldn't say, I got some money for myself, I'm going to go shopping. It's like, we needed every dime. So I'm saying you have to jump in, and you have to support each other. And you have to look at this person and say, I'm giving you everything I have. And that's the only way that we're going to make it. Because if you go in there with anything less than that, the likelihood is that it's going to fall apart. That's just my thought. So.
Yeah, I think it's like, and I understand what you're saying. And that's something that I'm start working through. It's like for me, it's like, I guess more so career-wise. Like, so we had this conversation before, like, I remember he was saying that, didn't you tell me one time you wanted me to stay home and take care of kids and all that? I'm not. For
Did
me,
he say he wants that, or he would?
It was kind of a discussion.
He's kind of freeing you for that option.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, wonderful, yeah, but it's
So why would that make you feel uneasy?
because I feel like I wouldn't be using 100% of my potential.
Oh my gosh.
Well, but aren't the skills, gifts, and abilities that God has given you also used in the field of raising kids as well? I mean, is that to say, well, I can't use my full potential, and potentially, your kids really need you to be pouring into them. Now, granted, I'm not saying there's not, especially in our culture, and I don't think the scriptures say explicitly a woman shall not work, because the book of Ruth, she has to go out and go out to the field and work for herself. She had no other option. But if you have that option to do so, why not feel free to do that and realize your potential could be poured into the children and raise them in Christ?
And I'd add to that, though, I think it's a decision that you both have to make. Because financially speaking, there are times when you might both have to work and have somebody take care of the kids. And if you have, a relative or somebody taking care of the kids, I mean, that's fine. But I mean, there's always going to be room for a career. I mean, depending on when you have kids, there's always going to be a time when the kids aren't always going to be in diapers. There's going to be a time when the kids go to school, so sometimes it might be a stepping back and maybe cutting back the hours, maybe just working part-time. I mean, you have to be flexible in what you want to do. And you have to realize, though, what you invest in the kids is what you're going to get out there. You understand what I'm saying, though? So you want to, it says that a child left to itself will embarrass his mother or his parents. So you want to make sure that you're both, and this is not just a woman thing, or you need both parents involved in the kid's life, which is not going to work. So, there has to be checks and balances where you say, okay, well, maybe for this season right now, I'll pull back, and instead of working 60 hours a week, I'll cut back to 30 hours a week or something like that. And then you'll do the same thing. Because, the kids are going to need to see both of you guys in their lives. It's not going to be a matter of, well, you stay home and take care of the kids, and I'll work 100 hours a week to make sure that everything's provided for them. That's not going to work either.
questions.
I would not feel comfortable, if I'm honest. Yeah, she asked me that before. And I think the reason being is because, and I think it's on both sides, that there's an expectation that you're less of a man if you're not working. And a lot of men tend to derive their worth from not working. Like, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that as long as he's still has the mindset of being the main provider, you know, like in terms of spiritually, emotionally, that's not just financially. But I will say that it's difficult because of the expectation that our society places on you. You know, I'll probably get a lot of backlash from family, uncles, friends, people, just society in general. And I think it's the same way for women. I think that's why a lot of women feel uncomfortable staying home. Is simply because society will bash you for and make you feel like you're less of a woman because you're not a career woman or you're not a career man, you know, because our society is so career oriented.
I do think it is like a country thing because there are other countries where there are male paternal leaves, or there are countries where they naturally work less hours a week. Yeah, in the United States we are workaholics, and so I think there is that stigma with gender as well. You need to keep working. You need to keep working. We don't use our paid vacations. We don't use our holidays. We use our, you know, it kind of is our region that we perceive that everyone should be working all the time.
I would say as a guy, I wouldn't have a problem staying at home and taking care of kids if my wife made significantly more money, because now I see that with my parents. Like, whenever my parents first got married, it was my dad who made more money. Now he's topped out in his career at 54. Well, my mom, you know, she's younger. She's not topped out. She can still move up. And now she definitely makes significantly more money than him. But they still make it work. They accept that, hey, my mom has more potential. And, you know, to be honest, she's a more gifted person when it comes to different abilities. My dad is very limited in his abilities. And so they make it work the way it is, you know. They still love each other, you know. My mom doesn't put him down because he can't make more money. You know?
I think that's important. You know, yeah, both people have that attitude that they're working together.
Yeah, I think they see it as it's all of their money. They don't look at it as, oh, this is mainly mom's money and dad's just riding the coattails. They don't look at it like that.
You know, I think in my 20s, I probably wanted to be, there was no way that I would have Lisa working and be staying on with the kids. But as we get older, I see a day now retire and she keeps working, and I'm fine with that. But I don't think she's
That's just me. I don't want him to stop. I mean, when he stops, when he's retired, it makes sense. He's retired. He's put in a lot of hard work. I appreciate that, and I've been appreciating it for as long as he's been working. And it's just between us. But that doesn't mean anything for anybody else. Nobody. Whatever we do doesn't mean anything for anybody else. So I appreciate whatever each couple decides to do.
Yeah.
Okay, the next question is, how long do you date? How long do you date before it becomes unhealthy? And then a sub-question is dating just like marriage but without the commitment?
Well, y'all been going out for dating for 6 years, so it's not unhealthy.
Well, what's dating? Dating like we're going on dates or dating we're in a relationship?
Oh, yeah, that's another thing.
I think probably that question is more how long are you in a relationship before?
So you have to be in a relationship for 6 years. And some of that is feel like
Yeah,
yeah.
like friendship.
Let's be obvious, once you start breaking certain sexual boundaries, then it is unhealthy. And then you either need to decide, hey, we need to get to life, or we need to break this off. Like, what is this? This is something where we're committed for life and we realize we want to be together, or no, is this just something that's turned into something physical and like there's no actual emotional long-term connection there, we should just end it.
And I think also like it comes to a point where like if you're not committing, it's like there's a question mark. You know, I've known people very close to me that have been through that. Just we've been in a relationship for 7, 8 years, and it's like no top of marriage. It's just they want to be in a relationship. You know, it's like at some point, like okay, y'all just need to be friends and not even hint, draw clear boundaries.
Does it depend on the relationship as well? Because I think here it's about getting to know each other and realizing it's at that point where it should transition into that. But I think it can vary depending on the couple. Because I've known some people who've been dated for a long time before they get married, and then some people, just a year or two, and then they get married then. I don't think the amount of time really determines how well the marriage will last. It's about if that was right for them at the time, if the timing was working for them, and it's just a matter of, I guess, both of you being observant of what's going on with the relationship, and then if it's at the point where it needs to turn into something else, if it needs to go further, or it needs to end, just make a decision on it at that point. Then I think it's just based on how it's working between those two people.
And the last question that we have is, how do I know if I have the gift of singleness?
It's under the Christmas tree.
I don't understand that. I've never seen this kind of question. I don't understand.
So
Well, basically, there are some people that God calls to not get married and just give their lives for the purpose of
Oh,
the kingdom.
okay, that's what
So that's kind of where the Catholics got the whole priests do not marry thing. I don't agree with the interpretation of they have to be priests. In order to be a priest, you have to not be married. But just in general, there are some people called just to be single and not to be married. So we're asking, how do you know that God calls you to singleness, for the rest of your life, as opposed to being married?
I don't know how. I guess for me personally, just my walk. I don't know. It seems pretty bold to know God, specifically for your entire life you be single. But I think in seasons that God will tell us that this is a time of singleness for you, and it's in obeying Him and trusting Him and letting God reveal what He desires in that walk that we can determine if we are in a season of singleness or we're not, and if it continues to remain that way, from season to season, then I think that's for me. I think that's kind of the perspective we can take to heart, because obviously God is out for our best and for life abundantly. So at least we can see it in those seasons that we're in already, and trusting in what He reveals to us. And I'm sure maybe He can reveal to someone that we can see for the rest of their life, but I'm just speaking on my own walk and what He's revealed to me and other people's walks, that at the very least we can allow God to reveal what He desires for us in our current season, and it can be singleness or not.
And I think kind of this question is like referring to like being a eunuch or being somebody that gives up marriage for the purpose of permanently being single. So we're not talking about period singleness, we're talking about like a vocation of singleness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So how do you know that you're not called to like a vocation of singleness in terms of where your life is, and kind of making your life centered around not necessarily getting married or having children, but giving yourself in your singleness to the purpose of God?
I think as you get closer and closer to God, He reveals more what His will is for your life. And so I think it also depends on your relationship with God too. Like, are you close to God? Are you spending time with God? And are you fully surrendered to what His will is? And I think through that, He reveals, like, if you are called to be single, or if you're to be married.
I'm just curious, like, anybody know somebody who's like admitted that they've been called to a vocation? You do?
I did. One of my girlfriends I used to serve with at my last church, actually, she is she has the gift, she knows she's had the gift, she's never had a desire to, like, God didn't place that in her. So God did not place that in her. Like, she has no desire to be married, she has no desire to have children, she knows that her life is just to serve and just to pour out to other people. But for her, it's not like, it's not a sacrifice because she doesn't desire marriage, she doesn't desire children. So people that have that gift, it's clear to them. There's not a question. It's clear.
That's really good.
And I think it has to be in order for you to make that commitment.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be like halfway.
I've known her for years. She's probably, it's not late 30s, maybe early 40s now, but she knows she's in her 20s. She knows.
I guess if you have a desire of finding that significant other or getting married, then probably that's not for you.
Right.
I think Paul spoke about that too, about if you have, like, if there are desires, I think it's best not to be married, but if you do have desires, like, then get married. But I think he writes it, I think it's first or second Corinthians, he does talk about that.
It's first, yeah, 1 Corinthians 7. And I think eventually it'll be good to touch on that, because that goes exactly to the point about knowing all things. But continue. Oh, okay.
And he also says in he says in Philippians chapter 1 that let's see if I can find it. You can go ahead. I thought I had it, but oh, it says, and I'm sure of this that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Jesus Christ. So it is that, I think it speaks on a desire, that he's placed that desire in our heart, and he will see it through if we continue to obey him and allow him and trust in his will.
And I think the idea, 1 Corinthians 7, verse 8 says, but I say to the unmarried and to the widows, it is good for them to remain even as I. But if they do not have the self-control, let them marry. For it is better to marry than to burn with passion. And I think Paul's treatment of the idea of marriage is that marriage points. You know, like whether we're single or whether we're married right now or pursuing marriage, that, you know, or even if you have a vocation of singleness, all of them are pointing to the same thing. You know, if I'm called to be married, my calling is to pour out my life for it, and to do so for the glory of God, and to give myself completely as a sacrifice, just like you just did. But I think singleness is the same thing. It's the vocation of singleness. You know, God can be so complete in us that we can still give our lives, in a sense, and marry ourselves to the cause of the church, and marry ourselves to devoting and giving all our lives to see the children of God come to Him. You know, it's a different kind of family, and I think that the reason why Apostle Paul treated the scripture that way was because marriage paints a bigger picture of this bigger mission. You know, that in heaven, you know, marriage won't exist. You know, that there will be a family amongst all people. There will be an intimacy among all people, and that's what we're shooting towards. And that's, I think, what that question was kind of hinting at, is that if you do have the vocation of singleness, it's the same sentiment as getting married. You're just, instead of giving yourself to one person, you're giving yourself to the body of Christ completely. I don't think there's a in between where you're like, well, I just want to be single just so I can do what I want to do. You know, either way, we're called to give ourselves for this bigger picture of creating this family here on earth and eventually in heaven.
I just want to share some scripture going out of here. And again, like I said before, if you weren't in here, this is not for us to talk about dating. This is not to push us into wanting a relationship more than when we came into this room tonight. Rather, this is to give us a better foundation and kind of wrestle through some of these questions and ideas and have an opinion, actually be firm on something, rather than say, I don't know. I mean, and at the same time, not call people out, not cut people off and say they're wrong for doing online dating or having arranged marriage. I mean, there's different ways for that all to play out. But I do believe God arranges marriages and arranges relationships and arranges your life. And yet He gives us free will in that to obey Him and follow Him, or to hurt ourselves and walk away from God. And I want to read this passage real quick in Genesis chapter 1. And this will really touch on both our singleness as well as dating relationships. If you look at Genesis 1, it says that God created all things and then He created man. And in verse 26 it says, "Then God said, 'Let us make man in our image, after our likeness.'" And the "our" here is referring to God, Father, Son, and Spirit. "After our likeness. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the heaven, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in His image. In the image of God He created him. Male and female He created them. And God blessed them and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it." That's where I kind of want to land tonight. How is God calling you to multiply image bearers on the earth? Is He calling you into singleness where you can go make disciples who make disciples who make disciples? Or is God calling you to pursue marriage, to have children, and to pour into them so that you can make a disciple of them so that they may make disciples of the nations? How is God calling you to make disciples?